Remember, don't get stuck with another sticker company. Stick with StickerYeti.com for all of your sticker needs and much, much more. Sticker Yeti is the place for all of your needs when it comes to stickers. Check them out today.
A basketball hero around here is treated like a god. I mean, how can you ever find out what he could really do? I don't want this to be the high point of his life. I've seen them, the real sad ones. They sit around the rest of their lives talking about the glory days when they were 17 years old.
You know, most people would kill to be treated like a god just for a few moments.
Welcome to Keeping the Nostalgia Live Show. I'm your host, Billy Powell. As you can see with us is former Boilermaker for life, it seems, Todd Foster. Todd, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. I know your time is precious, but with this time of crisis and stuff like that, I guess you got a little bit of time to help us keep the nostalgia alive about the game of basketball.
Well, thank you for having me on here. This is going to be a situation for what I can think back my years with all these new guys coming into Purdue, and they were born in 01 and 02, and I keep thinking, man, I graduated in 96. So, for my memory to think back that far, I've been kicked in the head a little bit too much, I think. So hopefully I can recall some, stories or some memories for you.
Okay, before I get started, though, I don't want to offend you. So you see that little guy in the back that's standing there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to take this. We'll do that for the show. What do you think about that?
Hey, that's all right. Coach K is like a father to me. But I'm going to tell you what, Coach Knight is a legend in my eyes. There's no question. You need more coaches like him, I believe. He's old school. He teaches the game. And he's just, he's like a father figure to those kids. And I think some coaches nowadays just want to get along with them at some point. But I'm a big fan of Coach Knight. We would not have that rivalry if it wasn't for Coach Katie and Coach Knight. And that's what makes the game in the state of Indiana so much fun to watch.
I'm fast forwarding a little bit, but something interesting. Everybody has the perception that Indiana hates Purdue. Is that the same? Is that the reality when it comes to basketball, the game of basketball, or you guys just have respect for each other? I know Indiana wants to beat Purdue. Purdue wants to beat Indiana, but that rivalry is very, very tense. But explain that a little bit, or how you feel about it, or what you went through with it.
Well, my personal feelings, when you get in that game for the first time, or when you're playing against Indiana, you have respect for the players at all times. But when it's 40 minutes, you can throw that out the door. You just go at each other because you're wanting to win. What's fun about it is the people in the stands, they're the ones that get all crazy about it. And as a Purdue player, I wanted to win for my fans. I want to win for my coach and my teammates. I'm 100% for all of them, and I'm going after them no matter what I have to do. I'm going to play my tail off for them because they made it possible for me to be wearing that Purdue jersey. So for me, when you hit that hardwood, it's 5-on-5. 15,000 fans isn't going to help you. You got to play the game. That's why I love playing on the road more at home, because you had everybody against you. You got your back against the wall. I love that atmosphere. So as far as the players, hey, I had a lot of respect for them. There was no question. I mean, we're going to, after the game, I'll talk to them. And I've seen a couple of players throughout the years, and it's great to visit with them. And that's what made me, respect them more, because they're class kids. And I loved them. But when it's 40 minutes, it's, our team against their team. Fans can't do anything about it, and you can see all these fans getting upset with each other. But I just wanted to win for our coach and our school.
Todd, tell everybody a little about where you're from, your parents, brothers and sisters. Did they, all of those incorporated, did they have athletic skills and stuff that passed along to you? And just tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
Well, I grew up outside of Washington, Illinois. It's just right outside of Peoria. Is one player you remember probably from Purdue, Doug Lee, that graduated in 87. He's my brother-in-law. He grew up in town there, married my sister. But we lived I went to a grade school. It had 68 kids in it. And I had 9 kids in my class, which was kind of large. And we had 68 kids, K through 8. And it was just a little farm school. All the, classes, grades 1 and 2 were in the same, had the same teacher in the same room. Grades 3 and 4, one teacher. So we didn't have that much room in that building. And the gym was so small, the ceiling was a foot above the backboard. And that's where we kind of developed basketball. We played all the time growing up in there. And I was the youngest. My sister was the oldest. She was 8 years older than I was. And my brother was 3 years older than I was. And so I was always the one getting picked on. But when we were little, we always went to horse shows and rodeos. My sister was in rodeo a lot. And so we were always, competing, contesting with the horse shows. And so we were always outside baling hay, doing all the farm work, doing whatever we had to. And you just learn life a little bit harder than it is, I think, when you're going up and you have chores. We had 3 TV stations. We didn't have internet. We didn't have any of that stuff. So you kept busy being outside doing working. If not, you're shooting baskets in the barn. And that, to me, was, I used to go in town on Friday nights and watch the high school game, and I wanted to be like them. They were my idols. And one of them was Doug Lee, which was my brother-in-law. Got to watch him play against Doug Altenberger at Richwoods that went to Illinois, Tony Weisinger. I can sit there and name some players from Peoria that's played at Illinois, Indiana, and Purdue, and it's been a blessing for me in those years. And I lost my mom when I was 15 years old, and she died of cancer. She went in the hospital, and a month later she passed away. So it was kind of a surprise. She never got to see me play in high school. But in my mind, I just wanted to be successful for her and help my dad. My dad was kind of took it hard, and he just always said, if it wasn't for us kids, he won't want to be here. So I felt like I had, I was obligated to, do my part for the family and take care of this opportunity. My sister married Doug, and she didn't play any sports. She just, like I said, rodeoed. And my brother wound up playing. He graduated from Southern Illinois and played baseball. His freshman year, he went to ICC. He went to junior college outside East Peoria there and played with Jim Tomey for years. And we got to know Jim because my brother guarded him in high school. I had to guard Jim in high school because he was right between our age. Great kid, great player back then. Still, he's one of my idols in baseball. But my brother was very successful football player in high school, basketball and baseball, and I wanted to kind of follow his footsteps. So he helped me a lot growing up in kind of keeping the faith and believing in yourself. And that was the hardest thing. We didn't have AAU then. I remember my sophomore year, we'd walk beans in the morning, and we'd go in and play open gym, and then we'd come in the afternoons, we either bale hay or did some kind of work. And so basically, we didn't have no time to go to these tournaments. We didn't hear anything, but we had somebody come in the gym and wanted me to play in Iowa for an AAU team. I've never heard of that. My high school coach never heard of that. And it kind of turned around, and, I decided, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go with my team to a team camp and, play in the gym every day. And I was very fortunate with my high school coach, Steve Doty, who, he to me is a legend because he played at Bradley University and he taught man to man. And believe it or not, he was a Bobby Knight fan. He had Bobby Knight stuff in his office, and he went hard in practice and got honest. And I always felt like he was the hardest on me. But then I come to realize that there was a reason. He was trying to get to my potential. And I respected it, So I was very fortunate to have a guy like, Coach Doty, and now his son is coaching in Illinois. And it's just great to see his tradition keep living.
What is the difference between basketball in Illinois and the high school level and basketball in Indiana? Similar?
Very similar. I mean, the states, you got your own state up north, Chicago. That alone, you're producing talent. We played against some Chicago schools at the Peak and Holiday tournament. So it's always fun to play against somebody, from that region. But as far as the competition, Indiana has tradition, and when I came to Purdue on my visit, I just remember hearing the stories and talking with the teammates out there, and and I think the movie Hoosiers really developed that. And just hearing stories how it was just back then, it was one class, and that was, to me, that was kind of provides the history of Indiana. So that is alone is that takes quite a bit of respect, you know, when you're looking at all these schools. And it was when I actually came to Purdue, I went to some high school games, and they were fun to watch. I mean, they had crowds, and especially when it was in the playoffs. And it's different in Illinois. We always start off in regionals, then go to sectionals. And here it's opposite. So when people say, hey, yeah, we won regionals, I said, well, that's good. What'd you win, 1 or 2 games, and you won it? But no, it's always opposite. I had to get used to that right away. But I even went to the Wabash, who was a Wabash and DePaul college game when I was in college, when I was playing. And that was unbelievable. That was, to me, that was tradition. That looked like Indiana tradition right there. The gym was packed. And, you know, it doesn't matter if you're in Mackey Arena or where I was down in Crawfordsville watching. It was fun to watch. It was a great contest.
Besides Purdue, and I'm going to get back to your high school career in just a minute, what other jersey would we have possibly seen you wear if you would not have made the commitment and decided to play for Purdue University?
Well, I did probably Southern Illinois, the Salukis, because my brother was playing down there. I went on a visit for football down there, and we had a 40-acre farm on the very tip of Southern Illinois where we always went goose hunting every winter. That was our family vacation, pretty much, just going down and goose hunting. And I thought, man, I was looking at, you know, that with Mark Twain Force, and you're looking around and you're sitting there thinking, man, I could be playing ball and going out and hunting all the time, you know. And that was kind of important to me because I went hunting every day if I could. I'd wake up, you know, the days before games and go hunting, and then the morning of the game I'd go out, not for very long, but that was kind of tradition for me. I just like being in the woods and hunting, and that was important. So I really thought about Southern Illinois. I wanted to play football, but I also wanted to play basketball. And at that time, Purdue didn't offer. They were watching me, but they didn't offer. So it was kind of a situation where, you know, would I want to be on a team about 70, 80 players, or do I want to be on a team about 15? And I'm a family guy. I really love having a small group of guys as you have each other's back. And I just felt when I went to Western Illinois, you know, I mean, when you're with some of these players, it was hard because, you know, they come from all different backgrounds when you got 70, 80 players, and you want to gel with everybody, because I care about my teammates more than myself. And I just felt like the opportunity for basketball could have been there, you know, if at Southern Illinois, if I would have wanted to play both. They asked me about that, and I was really thinking about that, and it would have been hard because, you know, you had to gain weight, you had to lift all the time. You know, I'm not the tallest guy. I'm 6 foot. And that's one thing when I went to Illinois for football on a visit. They just said, hey, right now we have a couple guys in front of you, but you need to gain a lot more weight. So if they don't take these scholarships, we're going to be knocking at your door. And so I felt like, well, it's during the basketball season. I can't gain that weight. I can't be 220 pounds right now. So I just turned around and just tried to focus on basketball. But that's the same year, my senior year in high school, when Purdue had a couple transfer. I think Richie Mount transferred. Shuttlecotty transferred. They lost a couple players. I think Woody Austin became ineligible. And so a scholarship opened up. So I was just blessed and had the opportunity when they called and said, hey, we want to bring you on a visit. And because I went to their camps when I was in freshman and sophomore in high school. And I went to the D1 camps for Hoover, and that was fun. And just so they got to see me play a little bit. And I think Coach Katie or Coach Weber one of them came and saw me. I think it was Coach Katie when I hit the state record in threes in a game, 11 for 14. And so that helped. So somebody was looking over me on that game, but it just opened the door when they offered. I talked to my brother-in-law that played for Coach Katie, and he just says, Todd, he's the one guy I would definitely recommend to play for you. I mean, he's like a father, and he was right on it. And so it was kind of hard to sit there to try to judge between what sport, but I just went with my gut feeling, and I knew it would be difficult. And I knew, you know, going into Purdue my first year. The other guys in my recruiting class was a guy named Glenn Robinson, Conzo Martin, Brandon Brantley, Herb Dove. And then we had Kenny Williams, a JUCO All-American from Kankakee. And now all of a sudden, instead of, playing against guys 6'7", 6'8", a little slower, now you're playing against Glenn Robinson, 6'9", the best college player I've still seen today in person by far with all that talent. I couldn't believe he was a freshman coming in there. I was just shocked. And Doug always says, if you have a big man or a power forward like that can do some work like that, you guys will be successful. He said, you better be on that team with them. So it was very intimidating at first. The confidence level I had, I just didn't feel like, man, should I be here? Should I not be here? But then when you start playing pickup games, the competitiveness got me. And then it's like, you know what? You can miss every shot, but you can still play hard. You can still play defense. And that was what Coach Katie preached. And I'm like, well, I can do that. I can dive on the floor. I'll take charges. They can hit me all they want. That was the football in me. So, I played football and I loved the contact. Couldn't wait for contact. So when we did charge drills, that was a favorite drill. The bull in the ring where you line everybody on a 3-point line. You got to take 10 charges or whatever it is. I loved it. And we're diving on the floor drills. Those are fun because then you really find out who really wants to go at it. So it was kind of a prediction at first where I was like kind of hesitant on it, but then, it really worked out for the best, being at Purdue, because I could play for that guy. Now we go to UNLV. No, I don't fit in that style. I'd rather make a good pass and get somebody else the ball, come down. I couldn't wait to play defense. Defense was the best part of the game. Offense, hey, that's fine. That's when I try to rest at times, but defense is when you give 110% and you just go at the other team.
I live in Houston, Texas, and I've lived here for the past 22, 23 years. And of course, the Houston rodeo is here. It's huge.
Oh yeah, the big one. Big money.
Yeah, exactly. It's huge. Tell us a little bit about the rodeo, getting into it. Where did your love come from? And what did you do? And also, I'm fast forwarding a little bit, but I know there's a story that, you came to a practice or something like that and you had a big bump on your head. I think this was during while you were at St. Joe's and you're getting ready to get a job at Purdue as assistant coach. But Coach Gene Katie said, "No, we can't have you doing that anymore."
Well, like I said, where we grew up, we didn't have neighbors. And so we were outside, we had some horses and basically my sister to practice roping and my brother and their friends. I was if the calf wasn't in there, a lot of times they would just practice on me. So I'd be in the chute and I had to run out and they would rope me. And if you ever been roped, it's not fun. You get those marks across your face when that rope hits you. And but that was the only way that I got to be able to play with them. They said, okay, you're the calf, let's go. We're going to rope you, or they team rope me or whatever. And it was, it was a little difficult at times, but I got to play with them. And I think it made me a little tougher in that sense. But we were always, when I was in grade school, we were going to horse shows every weekend, sleeping in the trailers. And that was fun. We were competing, doing contests. And then my sister, when she got in high school, she started doing the high school rodeo and going to the rodeos and watching her. And I always wanted to be a rodeo clown. I wanted to do that. But that opportunity I had to keep away from in high school just because I was competing in, football and basketball and wanted to stay, I didn't want to be injured, say that. I had to be careful about it. But when Purdue came, it was an opportunity where met a guy named Toby Turner, who was a wrestler, who was very well known in Indiana for wrestling and rodeo. And he did all the events. And so became good friends with him. And I started entering some rodeos and started doing the saddle bronc and bull riding. And I used a different name. I used one of our managers' name, and then basically Buddy Baker, who's an agent now. But I used his name when I went and rode in these rodeos, and it was fun. I learned a lot, and it was just a way to get away from basketball. Just get away from the court. Sometimes you need that little break, even if it's for a couple hours to go to a rodeo. And I just went to, just a handful during the summer. And there was many times, we went and practiced. You get banged up quite a bit. And you know, you just don't want to show it. You just come in, you play, even though you got bruises on you or you got little marks on you. You just say, oh, we just, you know, messing with my roommates. But it worked out great. It was fun because then when I graduated from Purdue, I went into CBA for about a month there. I was at Rockford. And then when Tate George got released from the Nets and he came in, I made the squad. And also when Tate George got released, he came in and knocked me out. And they said, well, do you want to go to I believe at that time it was that IDL or some different league out in the Dakotas, and Porter was playing in it. And I said, man, I had to get reconstruction surgery on my ankle, and I had to get some things done. And I knew I wanted to coach. So I thought this is the time to do some rodeos. I was living in my truck. Basically, I had about 5 jobs. I was working a little bit everywhere, sleeping in my truck at rest stops, at Mackey Arena. I had a little topper on the back of my truck, and so I just jumped in the back of there and always slept and kept my food in the cooler. And it was fun. It was fun. I mean, it didn't take much for me to be happy, you know, and then I was able to go and rodeo pretty hard. And then all of a sudden, opportunity to go to Southern Idaho and coach with Jim Thrash for a little bit. Then I came back and coached with Bill Bland at St. Joseph College and got with Coach Hoover again. And I was also going around speaking to kids, trying to teach them the best way to you know, prepare yourself for life, how to work hard, you know, have family first. And that was just a blessing because when I go out and speak, I kept on thinking about what I want to do in my future. And at that time, yeah, I knew I wanted a college coach. I knew it was hard. But I was very fortunate to have people like Jerry Hoover and Bill Bland that gave me the first opportunity at St. Joseph College. Then I got kind of recruited by Scott Drew and Homer Drew up at Valpo to come up and coach with them. Well, their monthly contract, I mean, they were on, I believe I got paid for 10 months. And I believe I got paid $10,000 to coach at at Valparaiso. I took it. I said, this is a great opportunity, Division I. And Coach Drew's, both of them, Scott and Homer, were awesome people. The whole staff were. And I kind of fell in love with them because they were just good people. And I knew I wanted to do that. And so by the time I went to Valpo, I knew I had to make some money during the summer. So I was speaking camps. But then I got pretty much Doc Davis, who owned Winchester Rodeo Company, wanted me to come and be his rodeo clown. So I started fighting bulls. And at that time, there was a lot of county fairs and going to rodeos on the weekends for 2 or 3, you know, Friday through Sunday, fighting bulls, getting knocked, getting whatever. And then when Coach Katie called me and says, hey, we have a position down here. Would you be interested? And he was, I believe, out of the country then for the Olympic team. And I said, sure, I will. That'd be awesome. Well, right before he got back, I believe on that Monday, that Saturday, I was at a rodeo in Greencastle and the guy got hung up. So that's my job to get him off of there. So I remember trying to get him, and I knew the only way is just go up and grab him by the head and just try to hang on. And when I did, the bull kicked me in the head, and I got knocked out. And they tried to get me in the ambulance. I said, man, that's going to be a lot of money. I'm fine. Just let me catch my breath and finish the rodeo. I said, I'll go to the hospital when I'm done. Somebody will drive me. I'm good just to get checked. But I did come in Monday, and I had a pretty good mark. Couldn't see out of the one eye hardly. It was marked up pretty good. And coach just said, you're done with that, you know. But I said, well, I only have like 2 more rodeos. I don't want to turn the guy down. I just let me finish these rodeos. I promise I'll be all right. And so I did. I finished that summer out fighting bulls for him. And then I started getting into steer wrestling. I got rid of the rough stock, and I just started doing the steer wrestling, which is the bulldogging, jumping off, grabbing horns, you know, twisting them. So I did that for a long time, for about, I would say altogether about 12, 13 years competitively. I was going to about, anywhere from 20 to 30 rodeos in between. And then when I got out of coaching, I was going about 40 rodeos. So it was a blessing. It's fun. I love that contact. You get your frustration when you go and practice in the pen. And it just gets you wired up like you're getting ready to play a game. But
Todd,
that was kind of the rodeo part.
Yeah. Is this something too that I know you have 3 little ones. Do they know about it? Do you, are they, you know, of course they have chores. Have they been introduced to cows and horses and all that kind of stuff? Do you think this is going to continue on? Because, you know, sometimes you think, you know, this may dwindle or die? I mean, is this something that you think will keep on going?
No, I mean, I blew both of my knees out. I was in the rodeo in Wisconsin, and this is when my new position now, when I was out of coaching, I blew my left knee pretty bad and finished the year. And then I blew the next year at the finals, in the regional finals, I blew my right knee out. And then I had to, I came back and did the next night and finished the season and actually won it with that blue knee. And it to me, I sat there and said, I'm having troubles with my knees right now, and my kids are just starting to get to doing sports. My oldest one now is 14, and at that time, I mean, she went to a couple rodeos with me, and I thought it's time for me to stay at home and stick it out with them and be there for them instead of being on the road during the weekends and hit these rodeos. And I wanted to be there for my wife and my kids, and so I kind of gave that up. But we still had the horses. I had about 20 head of cattle. I just sold them last winter. Just in the fact, we had too much going on with the kids. They're in every activity already. They love riding. I mean, old Bam Bam, my son, who's 10, he got bucked off, and we were laughing so hard, and he cracked his helmet. He went flying off like Superman, and I didn't think about him getting hurt. He just stood right up, and I was like, way to get up. That's awesome. Then I started seeing, he could have broke his neck then. So then it kind of made me think a little bit that, hey, we need to settle down on this. So we just kind of just ride along. They want to mess with it a little bit, but they're so active in all their other sports that it's kind of hard. We just keep the horses, and we got chickens, but I just sold the cattle and just kind of said, you know what, we have a barn here that's got a gym in it. So we keep busy in here quite a bit.
Tell us about that first day you get to Purdue on campus. Were you shocked? Were you, tell us about that initial reception at Purdue once you got there as a freshman.
My freshman year, I remember I went over that summer, and that's when I first saw Glenn. I was like, man, this guy is no way. This guy is unbelievable. And then Conzo, and then all the other players. And Coach Matt Painter was my host when I was on my recruiting visit. And he'll tell you the truth. He was great as a host, and then we got there as a senior. I mean, he wasn't a senior; he was going to be a junior, but he acted like a senior, and you could see that he was going to be a successful coach someday because he was always coaching out there, trying to organize the guys. And I like that atmosphere. I love those guys sticking together; they are always together. And it was kind of intimidating because now, I mean, the size level, you had to change your game. Before I could, bully my way in there and shoot a little jumper or shoot a little layup over, another 6'5" guy. I could do that. Now you go in there, you're going to get that thing rejected. So I just learned to play the game, keep your spacing, go set screens, keep the ball moving, play defense on the other end. So that was enjoyable to learn that, but it's also, like I said, it was intimidating. But then when you're on that campus, 35,000 kids, I mean, to me, I'm like, I never had neighbors growing up. And now I'm sitting in a dorm. I mean, there were squirrels sitting right out there. And I thought, man, I could just pop one of those things right now. And it was just difficult, just looking around and just getting adjusted to that. And because my homesick was not be able to go hunting as much. I did find some spots around here. I was very fortunate. Some great alumni allowed me to go and hunt on their land. But that was the hardest part. I mean, and this is where we're at nowadays. I had a shotgun in my dorm. I kept my gun in my dorm. I didn't think nothing of it. I had it in a case. It was locked up. It was underneath my bed, and that's where I kept it. And nowadays, oh, wow, yeah, it's a little bit different. But so every time that I had my bow, went bow hunting, and, every morning we woke up from the hotel for home games. I still went deer hunting. Even when I was a senior, I went hunting the morning of games. And it was that was just part of my life growing up. I loved the outdoors, the country living, and being at Purdue with 35 students. That was it was kind of uncomfortable for me. Never did like attention. So that's why in college I started going out and speaking. And I learned, my brother-in-law told me, said, you need to get out there and speak to kids. I love working with kids. And that to me is a blessing. That's our future. And trying to have them have dreams and goals. And it doesn't have to be just in sports. It could be everything. So it was gaining that confidence was my biggest, weakness at first because I just, it was not being around everybody. I used to walk in my high school years. I walked underneath the bleachers, because I didn't want to be in the limelight. I didn't want people looking at me. And that was something when I got to college, I had to learn how to adjust with, and being around great teammates, gaining that confidence was helpful. But again, like when you pull up for a game, my freshman year, I remember the first game, Ian Stanback, who's probably one of my best friends from East St. Louis, great player. I remember coming into the parking lot and the guy parking the car says, "Oh, you're here to drop them off." I'm like, "No, I'm actually on the team." So a lot of times I got, looked like as a manager, or some people thought, was is he a wrestler or a baseball player? And it's like, no, I'm actually play basketball, so it was fun. I mean, there are fun stories on that part, but, by the time I was a senior, you gain that confidence. You just go out, and I wish I would have had that more my freshman year, but it was a blessing.
Did you take it all in, or was it a whirlwind? I mean, did it go by really fast, or do you have memories that you'll sit and think about today and it'll bring a chuckle to your face, or did it go by so fast that, you'd like to do it over again almost because it went by so fast?
Oh, I'd love to do it all over again if my body would let me. On that stage, I mean, it's, it didn't go by fast when you lost a game and you played very poorly and you got off that plane and coach says, "Get taped up. We're meeting on the court in 30 minutes. And that was like 1:00 in the morning. Those were long days or 3-hour practices when they're just working you, and you're like, man, this will never end. And those didn't go by quick, but now I would do anything to go back. And that's when I go and speak to kids, I explain to them, this is a one opportunity. And even I work with the men's basketball now with the academics part. And it's hard for me. I'll go down and just watch them and practice. And to me, I'll say stuff to them. I rip them a little bit and say, hey, you're not hustling. You do not want to look back and say, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. Instead of sitting in your room, get out, work on your game, get your teammates together, spend time with them. I came from a small area. I mean, our high school was about 1,200, but I said my grade school outside was really small. But my best friend, roommate, was from East St. Louis. And we were teammates. And I went down there and visited him. And, man, that's a life change right there. I was just shocked. And you get to be around guys like that. They're your family. And when you spend time with everybody, you really develop, a strength in you to go out and want to teach kids. You want to tell them, hey, this is the opportunity. I show them my 3 Big Ten rings. I don't even wear them. I had the memories. My main memories of being with my coaches and my team and, going and competing for Purdue. That was the memories. And what's really the hardest memories are the games you lost. Because I felt like we let Coach Katie down and we let the fans down. And that hurts me today. So I try to work with our guys. And that's the one thing, being a past player, coaching at Purdue, and now being their academic guy, it's, God has its ways, but I can always talk to the guys and say, hey, what's your life goals? God gave you ability, but at some point you're going to be done. You have another whole life ahead of you. So take advantage of it. Get good work ethic right now. Bust your tail. Because if, you got 15,000 people in Mackey, there's a lot of job opportunities when you're done playing. That's like a job interview. So why not hustle? Those people are paid money for you to come watch you play. There's no reason to not give an effort. So you try to give those lessons to our guys now and also to, high school kids and grade school kids that want to play the college game. That, God bless them. Set goals, but keep your academics right. Keep your, enthusiasm, your energy. Keep that all going in life and being respectful for your parents. Listen to them.
Why the transition from coaching to the academic advisor? Tell us a little bit about your mindset, or did you want to get out of coaching, or did you just feel like this was a lot better for your family life and things else that were going on? Did you feel like you were still, you're still a major contributor to the basketball program, and then roll into Do you have a stern talk with the basketball players when they first meet you on letting them know of, all these things are going to be happening, but you need to focus on what you were just talking about just a second ago?
Yeah, well, it was, coached 10 years in college. And, the life of a basketball coach in college is very difficult for a family, atmosphere. And I loved it. I love the competition. Scott Drew, when he took the Baylor job, he called me, wanted to take me down there with him. And at that year, I believe we didn't have a great season. I think we just made the NIT, or we might not even made the NIT. And I just, in the newspapers were hitting on Coach Katie or asking, is he getting too old? And to me, I sat there and I thought, if I left to go to Baylor, even though I really I wanted to, because Scott Drew's a good guy, I'm just not going to go to somebody I don't know. I really liked him. But in the same point, Coach Katie was like a father to me. He gave me the opportunity to come to Purdue. He believed in me, gave me that opportunity. Then he gave me the opportunity to coach for him. I'm loyal. And I told Coach Drew, Scott Drew, that I said, I can't leave him. I'm going to stick with him and try it out. And I don't second guess myself. He's to me is somebody that I kind of look up to and worship, and he always says the things, and you listen to what he says, and they're important things about life. So I kind of stayed with him on that, and really we gutted it out with Conzo Martin and Jay Price. And then when Coach Painter came in, I thought that was a great transition for Morgan Burke to do. And Coach, Painter and I were great friends. And so for the first couple of years, we were trying to get things going and rolling. And Coach Painter and I just sat down, and he goes, hey, I'm thinking about getting some guys coming in for coaching. And he goes, we might have this academic job. Would you be interested? And at first I was like, no, I don't want to. I want to stay in coaching. But then it's like, it's a blessing to still be involved with Purdue and not have to travel and kiss your family goodbye in the month of July and go and recruit. And it worked out for the best. I mean, it was. And, when you have guys come in, recruits coming in, and you can say, hey, I played with the head coach. I played with, Coach Brantley. And Coach Painter brings in quality coaches. And you can see where they're at now. And it's just been – somebody, again, has been watching over me to be in this opportunity and be able to help the Purdue family and men's basketball and the tradition they got. And he keeps plugging away and keeps going. Coach Katie comes back. So it's just to be able to have the opportunity to be around them and represent your university. It's by far, to me, I can't ask for a better position. And and I get to watch my kids grow up, and I'm there for them. I lost my mom when I was young for melanoma, and I had the same, light skin. So I got to watch myself and get checked and make sure. And you don't know how long you're going to be here. So you take every day and you take advantage of it, and you work with your family. And I love it. And when these guys come in, I do the same way. I preach it. We're a family here. Once you're done, you leave, you're still family. You're always welcome back. And that's the one thing Purdue always has. It's a tight-fit community. And when we talk stories, when the ex-players come back, it's a blessing. And then when you get those guys, new guys come in, you almost have to de-recruit them, meaning because they're told how great they are. And then they're out there with the coaches and working hard. And I'm kind of trying to support them, be the supportive for basketball. But also I'm on them as far as academics, taking care of their stuff, making sure they have the right goals set. Like Coach Katie always says, every time you go to class, it's like putting, money in the bank. You got to take care of it. So I kind of preach that issue to them. And I tell them, if I have to tutor them, if I have to read their paper and help them, they don't want that. They don't want that. But I organize everything for them. But they're a bunch of kids that are just growing up for 4 years. You can see them mature while they're there. And I enjoy it because when you're recruiting, you're telling them how great they are. I tell them that when they come on a recruit visit. I don't have to do that now. I'm going to tell you the facts, how it is, give you all the resources. We're going to stay on you. If I'm on you, it's the reason why, because I care about you. And you got to learn that. And you got to represent. I mean, you got to come in saying, what can I do for this team? What can I do for this university? Instead of coming in thinking, well, what do you have to offer? What can you bring me? to make me come here. I just think some kids have it opposite now because they're shipped around and wanting so much. I just tell them the truth. You know, you got to work hard here and you're going to be successful in life.
So I have a question. I do a lot of these shows just because I have questions I want answered. I don't care if anybody else enjoys them. But here's my question. Is Brantley a joker?
Oh, yeah, we call him Big Cat. Yeah, Brandon's good. You know, I give him a hard time because Coach Weber was always yelling at him about classes and his academics at times, and we used to make fun of B all the time about that. And I mean, he took care of his business. But we were big jokers in college as a team. We had fun. We wrestled together. All of us would get together, wrestle. We'd just all get together, just the team, and have our own little gatherings in our apartments just for bringing guys together. And, you know, Brandon was one. He would joke around, but he was one that we always make fun of each other. He would take it, and then he would also distribute, you know, and that was fun. I mean, we'd tell jokes to each other. They would rip on me, you know, wearing my boots and jeans, and I would get on them, and, you know, and I'd say, well, I'm going to wear it so you can see my underwear today. But, I mean, it's just these guys were, you know, once you can learn and you have that companionship with each other and joke with each other, it makes a team unite, I mean, together. And like I said, with Brandon, he was always a jokester a little bit, but he was just funny to be with. He was a great teammate because he wanted to win. When he got on that court, he went after it. And there's probably, I don't know, the only kind of guy I don't remember getting in a fight with, because I got in a fight, you know, little brawls with everybody on the team in practice at one point, just because
competitors.
I would go at him, and Brandon would go at it too. And he, you know, everybody on the team, and that was what's nice about him. And then we get in the locker room, we joke about it. And yeah, you say he's a joker. I would say definitely, but he takes it well too.
Did you have a nickname, or did they give you a nickname, or how hard of a time did it get you for your hunting and all that kind of stuff?
Well, they called me Bear Claw. Coach Kendrick started that. I don't know. Then it started turning into Claw or something like that. I don't know. But I've been called a lot of things, so I'm used to it. But Bear Claw was probably what they always said, and to me, I think maybe I fouled a lot. I don't know. I was kind of that hockey player that comes in and doesn't know how to skate and just gets into fights with the other team's best player, I think. But that's where I would be on the bench, and if I see one of the other teams, you know, players doing something, you know, playing hard or doing something with one of our teammates that I thought was dirty, I'm going to come in and screen them. I'm not going to play dirty on them, but I'm going to go screen them and get into them. I'm going to protect my teammates. But then in practice, I'm going back at my teammates to make them better. And that's where I think that nickname came back, because we used to get in a lot of fights in practice. And Coach one time had to go buy these huge boxing gloves. They're oversized boxing gloves, because we would get into a fight, and then Coach with two guys would get into it. He made us put these gloves on and have everybody get in a circle, and then we had to hit each other. And you'd start punching each other, but it's so big and so soft, it was worthless. And so then he just, you know, that was one of the coach's ways to get your frustration out. And he said, now let's go play. Hug each other and let's play. And it was. I mean, that was a great job, because there's many times we do competitive drills, guys knocking each other down, and the next thing you know, a fist is thrown, and then two more guys were all going after each other. So it was, I mean, nowadays I look back at it, and it's like there was a reason why Coach did that. And it was a blessing.
What has the virus or current situation done to the college game of basketball? What do you think its effects are going to be? How has it affected Purdue University Boilermaker basketball? What's going to happen in the future? Do you have an input on that?
Well, I mean, as far as the recruiting and that part, I mean, I can't really say too much on that, because I'm not involved with the recruiting and all that. And it has to be difficult for everybody. But then the other ways is academically is what is important to me with our guys. I just don't want them to think, oh, this is an easy way out. and, start, letting up on things, and because everything is online, and it's very hard to kind of police it in a sense, because before I'm always saying, hey, let's look up your grades. Let's see every week. Let's write out the assignments. Let's make sure that we got no duck eggs, no zeros. And my biggest thing is communicate and just tell me the truth. If you messed up, let us know. Let's correct it. And it's been nice because our guys, we have a good group of guys, and they'll tell you the truth. And that really, number one, communicating on certain subjects, that's huge. But with the whole virus thing, we're kind of limbo and trying to see. I know our guys are getting tested again. They're just back and they're getting tested, and they should be able to start working out here this week. So that would be a blessing, and hopefully it'll keep going, because I think the one thing that they're missing out is the opportunity to be together, because those were the best times before practice, after practice, all those things. You're always hanging with your teammates. That to me is something you can't replace. And with this virus, it's very sad, because it affects so many people. I mean, health-wise, and affects people with their, their livelihood. And I'm focused on my guys and trying to make sure they're staying, up to beat, knowing what's going on, and being cautious and understanding that, hey, they could affect somebody else, but also, take care of your business at school and take care of your teammates. So I just, as far as the recruiting part, that's got to be a difficult challenge for everybody. It's hard to get kids to work out on their own. And so we're just trying to do their best and getting them back into the groove.
Coach Katie was your coach. He was a father figure. You love him. But share a couple of your favorite Gene Katie stories.
Oh, the coach, he would – where do you start on those? Coach was one of those guys that, everybody said, oh, he's mean. How can you play for a guy that's so mean? And he just has that growl on his face. But I always said, man, you didn't grow up with Fred Foster, my dad. My dad to me was 10 times harder than Coach Katie. And, I learned right away growing up, we were baling hay. And if you weren't stacking or you weren't keeping up and he's throwing the bales down to you, he would throw those bales right at your legs and take you out to teach you. And one time you do not put bad body language out, because he'd go harder at you. And then when I got with Coach Katie, man, he was always honest and just getting honest. So it was very, easy for me to be able to accept it. When they get on you, I just felt like I'm letting him down. So I wanted to play harder. And it was fun, because we had to get our teammates to play harder. The coach would sit there and, be after a game, and he would just, if it was just one player that did something at the end that maybe lost it, he would rip everybody. And he would get on you and just say, you guys aren't playing for the right reasons. And he'd just be jumping on you. So, as far as like the stories go, it was kind of funny in the sense where I'm trying to think of some ones that he would, he was very respectful on players. And he always says, I will not embarrass you on the court if you don't embarrass me. He says, you listen, you hustle, and do the right things. But there's times, I'm trying to sit here, if you get all the players together and they start talking stories, he'll just rip you on things. But I'm trying to think of something that's unique. I'm trying to get off on this. Man, he would give me a second and think about that on that one. I'm trying to think. I saw one, but I said that won't probably be appropriate.
You know what's interesting? I follow him on his page. I've got to meet him at a Final Four. A very nice guy. I'm really good friends with Dave Shellhouse, and of course, Coach Shellhouse was an All-American at Purdue. But it's really interesting to see him gardening.
Oh yeah, he's getting into it. When he comes and visits and stays here, he comes out and watches. He goes to my kids' games. And, he's a legend. But to me, I don't look at him like that. I just look at him as a father figure, because he always has something good to say. He wants to see my hay equipment. He wants to, we used to do it this way. And, yeah, he just, I don't see him with his temper at all. and he's relaxed more nowadays, and it's great to see. But he'll call me every other day. He wants to talk about something for like a couple minutes, and he goes, "All right, love you, see ya." And he's a blessing on it. I mean, but we always give him a hard time, and he says he never did. But like when Glenn Robinson played, and that's the one thing with Coach Katie, when we were on the road in the hotel, and that bus left at 5 o'clock for the game, that bus was pulling out at 4:45. Coach was on the bus usually 45 minutes before we left. And everybody knew you could be there at 4:45 in the last one getting on the bus, and he'd sit there. You don't want to play. You want to get your ass kicked. You better be focused. And then when people started leaving the hotel room, you hear the door shut. Man, we got out of our room quick and got on that bus. We did not want to be the last one getting on there because he would just get on you a little bit. He'd just say one little remark. But we always joke with him with Glenn. Once Glenn got on the bus, hey, we're ready to go. So we always made sure we beat Glenn on the bus because he goes, "Oh, no." But I know one time we had a situation in study hall. A couple guys got into an argument, and a fight broke out in study hall. That's how competitive we were. And Coach heard about it, and he came in and just basically called it all the meeting and just ripped on everybody. And I'm like, I'm not even involved in this, and I'm getting yelled at. But then he turned around and just all of a sudden picked out Glenn and said, "Glenn, do you want to go pro? Get your blank out of here and go pro. You're going to hurt our team if you're going to think you're number one," and all that. And we're all like, "Man, don't say that. No. Don't. We want Glenn to stay." But I mean, that's what Coach did. He treated everybody, equally, but we always give him a hard time saying, "Wait, once Glenn's on the bus, or make sure Glenn's on the bus, we're going now. We're safe. We got everybody." But Glenn was one guy that we always give Coach a hard time because, yeah, how wouldn't you? You go to make sure he's on your bus when you go to the games. But he got on Glenn that night, and there's times in practice he got on him all the time. But Glenn was a competitor. He didn't, he got mad and went harder. He was a very fierce competitor. He was fun to play with.
Todd, take us back. I know your mother passed away when you were 15. And you had the opportunity to play basketball the same day, right?
Yeah.
What was the mindset on that?
Well, it was, she was in a hospital. She went in. I remember coming home from practice. I got dropped off, and my brother was at college. My sister, she was, I believe they were in Houston playing. Doug was playing for the Rockets maybe at that time. But it was one of those things where I was by myself. Dad just left a note, says, "Do chores." I had to take Mom in to get checked. He came in that late that night and says, "Well, they're doing more testing." She never came home. So she was there. It was in the early start of January. She passed away February 10th, but she never came back. But it seems like when she was in the hospital, she kept on going downhill. They kept on finding more things with this melanoma that spread. And then we knew that she wasn't going to come out. And it was that one morning I was waiting for my ride to get to school, and my ride wasn't coming. And I'm thinking I'm going to be late for school. And I was stressed. And I was worried. I was trying to call my high school coach on the landline. I was trying to call whoever I could to get a ride. And then all of a sudden my sister came home and said, her mom passed away. And basically it kind of, hit me, and I just sat there and I was like, I wanted to go to school. I want to go to school. I don't want to think about this. But they said, "No, we're going to stay together today." And then, well, no, I got to get going. We've got a game. So sure enough, we wound up, we talked about it, and it's your call. And I said, I just want to represent my mom and my family. So it was hard, but I mean, when you compete, you get your mindset on something. That's why, like, a lot of times in academics, our guys are studying. We'll turn around and I said, "Hey, you might be able to study for 20, 30 minutes. You lose your focus. Go shoot free throws. Come back. Don't sit there and try to just drag it out and do poor work. Focus, and then go shoot free throws. Get your mind off it. Go do something on the court. Dribble, do something, and then come back. You can get something out of it." And that's kind of my thought process. When things get going bad, you got to think of something positive and think about the blessings, and I kept on thinking, you know, at least I had 15 years to get to know her. Some people don't get that opportunity. And so I just try to find out the positive, you know, motives for me.
Todd, we have ran long. I appreciate it. But for someone who was told that you were too short and too slow, you have 3 Big Ten championship rings, an MVP. You've had a great life.
I'm very blessed with, you know, my family. For, you know, God has his ways, and this path I would have never dreamed of. But, you know, I always tell kids, you know, your number one fans are your parents. So when you're done playing, you better say, I love you, because it took me right when my dad was passing away when I told him that. And I tell kids, don't think you're too cool to say that. Tell your family you love them, your brother, your sisters. Stay close, protect each other, help each other. In the same way with, you know, with Purdue University and everybody here, the friends that I have growing up and my friends here, I am very blessed, and my family alone, just 3 kids and a beautiful wife. I'm just grateful for everything.